I took a trip up there to the North Pole. I went there and I vaccinated Santa Claus myself. I measured his level of immunity, and he is good to go. He can come down the chimney. He can leave the presents. He can leave, and you have nothing to worry about.
This is the JWN podcast. Merry Christmas, people, if you celebrate. Let's get this party started.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight. Just walking in the winter wonderland. On the way is the bluebird, here to stay. Who's the bluebird? He sings a love song as we go along. Just walking in the winter wonderland.
Alright, so I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. If you celebrate Christmas, and you're listening to this on Christmas Day, hopefully everything is going well. Hopefully you're enjoying some time with your family, your immediate family. Hopefully you didn't travel, or you didn't have to travel. And if you did travel, well, okay. I mean, I get it. You gotta do what you gotta do. Just be safe, I guess. I don't know what to tell you at this point. Maybe quarantine on your way back, or when you get back home. I think for the most part, people are seeing the people that they've been in close contact with throughout, you know. I think that's what's going on. I hope that's what's going on. I know I've got to see, you know, my brother-in-law and his family, but we've been with him and around them this whole time because they've just been part of our inner sphere, our inner germ circle, as you would call it. I don't know. The weird things that we make up for, like, okay, where are we, you know, where's our line of tolerance for either complete isolation or, you know, more, I guess, realistic in the terms of 2020 that we've all learned to deal with. Oh, listen to that. So good. So good. Anyway, I did get to see his... that was Bill Wilson. I apologize. I should probably explain what that was that we were just listening to. And I did get to shoot his Christmas show with that amazing band. And... woo-wee! Speaking of, like, situations where you judge your comfortability and there's certain guidelines that are put forth that people try to adhere to. So in that concert that he put on, it was inside of a brewery, which is a pretty big facility, and it was very limited tables, and they were all assigned seating. And, you know, the rules were if you got up out of your table, you had to make sure you had your mask on and that kind of thing. And I didn't feel like anybody was really not following the rules. There was a couple of times when people stood up at their tables and danced, but nobody really went overboard. I mean, there were some people feeling the Christmas spirit, if you know what I mean. There are some very happy people in that crowd. And they were still being very well behaved. And yeah, that band, holy cow. The backup singers each kind of had a turn singing a song during the night, and each one of them could have been the lead singer. Like, they were all so good. It was a treat to be able to shoot that. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, staying safe, it's definitely it's weird. It's weird to try to have some semblance of normalcy while also remembering that, like, hey, these numbers are crazy again. We're back to the point where I live of everyone now knows somebody who's actively fighting it, you know? It went from, you know, you might have known somebody distant that had it at the beginning of this, and then there was a kind of wave where it's like, oh, it's happening all around us, and everybody knew somebody who had it if they didn't have it themselves. Then it kind of subsided a lot, you know, towards as the summer progressed. I think it was like once the graduation season kind of tapered off, things kind of calmed down where I live. And it still isn't awful where I live, but you could see it, you know what I'm saying? Like you can hear the parade coming down the block and you know it's coming. And now you're starting to hear stories of people that that have it. And you start going like, yeah, of course you do. That sounds like you're blaming, but it's like, of course you do, as far as like, yeah, this thing's coming. This train is coming into town. So I'm trying to do my best to limit my interactions with people. Although the last 2 days, you do what you can to stay safe, but having to go to any store right now, it's still crazy. It's still absolutely nuts. We stopped at a home store yesterday to pick up a couple of things, and you're on, like, I'm on edge the whole time because there's too many people, I believe, in the store at one time. Nobody cares about the directions on the floor anymore. If you haven't noticed, at the grocery store, same thing. Nobody cares about the flow of people or the directions or the stickers on the floor that say, like when you're online, stay on this little dot so that you can be assured that you're a safe distance from the person in front of you or behind you. No one cares. Nobody cares. And that's why I'm nervous. I feel like there's this false sense of confidence that the hot, humid weather kept this thing at bay for so long here that I don't know. Maybe people have a false sense of security, but then again, there are other parts of this country that don't have the benefit of like an opportune climate to keep this thing from spreading as quickly, right? And they're just doing whatever the hell they want there as well, it appears. So it's a weird time. But anyway, I didn't want to dwell on that too much. It is my son's birthday. Happy birthday. He's 17 years old. If you ever want to like realize how fast time flies, have kids. I sound like your parents. If you don't have kids, I sound like your parents because I am a parent. And there's a reason why they sound the way they do and say the things they say. Because it's so weird. You get to a certain age where, you yourself are not changing as rapidly. You kind of level off, right, in your 20s. And then you could coast through your 30s or so and, you start getting some gray hairs and whatnot. But for the most part, you're okay. But when you have kids and you see how quickly they grow, and next thing you know, they're 17, and you think about the things you did as a 17-year-old, oh, my goodness, I have some good kids. Because I know what I was doing when I was their respective ages. And, I must have struck gold when it comes to the kid department because they've been good so far. Knock on some sort of wood. Here you go. I don't know if that was picked up, but I knocked down a wood apple box in my photo studio here. But yeah, I was joking with my son this morning. I was like, all right. Well, when I was a kid in grammar school, when it was your birthday, you got patty wax. And he's like, what is a patty whack? And I explained to him, it's like, you kids would line up and they'd spread their legs and you'd crawl underneath all their legs. And as you were crawling under their legs, they'd spank your butt and he's looking at me like, what? As he should. And I said, yeah, Catholic school's a weird place. So anyway, then I told him that was better, though, than what my brother did to me. My brother was 4 years older than me. And then when you're dealing with like young kid terms, that's like the difference between a full grown adult and a baby. 4 years is a huge difference. It's a huge gap for growing children. And he used to give me birthday punches. And so I explained to him that I would have to get whatever the year is of my birthday. So if I was 17, I'd get 17 punches plus one to grow on. Yeah, my brother. Well, he's a complicated person, but he seemed to always want to flex some sort of dominance over me, despite the fact that he had a 4-year advantage as far as size and learning goes, he always would put me at a disadvantage. And we had one pair of boxing gloves, and he would play boxing with me, and we were both right-handed. Guess who got stuck with the left-handed glove? You would think the older person would take the handicap because they'd still beat you even though they're using their southpaw. But no, not my brother. No, he needed to use the right one to make sure I knew that I was not as cool as him or as strong as him. Anyway, so there you go. Getting a little personal. Well, let's dive into a little personal. This is a special Christmas episode, and special. I mean, I think people should understand and know that for a lot of people, and it's probably not just Christmas. I'm not going to be exclusive to just people who grew up in some sort of one of the Christian faiths, but I'm sure something about this time of year, or just any kind of important holiday, honestly, but something like this time of year when you've got New Year's, you've got Christmas, and you had Thanksgiving just right, just a stone's throw beforehand, and it's in the winter. There's a lot of factors that go into a lot of people, like myself, who really don't like Christmas. And it's not an attack on you. It's not, or your beliefs, or what you think I should feel. On the surface, over the years, I've learned how to cope, and I have rewritten what I should feel. Does that make sense? I have reworked in my head and built a strong family unit, our own traditions and things like that to basically to make it somewhat tolerable. It beyond it's to some degree enjoyable. But I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'd like to say there's a specific moment or thing that I could point to, but ever since I can remember, Christmas is something I've always kind of dreaded. There's always this moment that creeps up on me around this time of year where it's just a deep, deep feeling of depression, of sadness. And, over the years I've looked into it and I realize I'm not alone. It's different for everybody, I'm sure. But I think for the most part, people who feel this way might have tinges of this based on things that are going on in their life right now, like stress, whether it be from financial stress, which it's a tough time if you're having a hard time financially to feel like, oh, this is the time to be giving, when you're like, man, I can't even pay my bills, right? But like on top of that, like this year especially, people will have a hard time getting with their family and friends, on top of the financial stress that this year has produced. And there's a little bit of fatigue. There's too much of the same going on for a lot of people. And so, yeah, this might make them sad just because it's like, okay, well, all said and done, we're just going to sit and watch Netflix again. So that's why I mean, earlier when I was talking about, if you're going to go see people, your family, or in some way that you deem safe, like I get it. I'd like to be like super strict and whatnot and say, oh, you shouldn't do that. But, if you can figure out a way to do it as safe as possible, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. It's just traveling to people who are at risk and not putting in the proper precautions seems to be a little irresponsible. But you know what? You can go get rapid tests done these days. You can make sure you're safe before you go there. And there are ways to do these things. And I think it's worth it for people who need this right now. But for what I'm talking about, like just like a holiday depression, mine is deep seated. It gets easier. Some years it's not really even a problem at all. Some years it comes out of the blue and it just hits you, blindsides you. But regardless of whether or not like a particular year goes, smoothly or not, the anticipation is real. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the anticipation for anything is far worse than the actual outcome of whatever it is you're anticipating. But that anticipation is so stressful. And it's usually this time of year, it's unavoidable because everywhere you go, it's so overly like drenched in Christmas music and lights and decorations. And it feels like it starts earlier and earlier every year, and the season grows longer and longer. And, for someone like me who just gets a lot of anxiety around this time of year and it truly feels attacked is not a good word. That's not how I feel. I don't feel attacked, but I feel on edge because I can't avoid it. In those aspects, for the most part, this pandemic has been fucking amazing. I have had so little forced Christmas interactions. It's been so minimal that the interactions that I've had to have had, or that I chose to have had, like going and shooting that Bill Wilson concert, have been truly enjoyable. Like I have been mentally prepared for it on that front. So I, for years, have been joking that Christmas should come like on the Olympic schedule. And every 4 years we get Christmas. And then, nobody cares about some Olympic sports until the Olympics come around. And you're really excited. If they happened every year on that level, because of course all those sports do happen all the time, but nobody pays, I shouldn't say nobody, the mass audience that the Olympics garners doesn't exist every year. And if it did, it probably wouldn't be that popular. That audience would shrink if they had an Olympics every single year. But having it every 4 years, kind of like every 2 years, really. And I would take 2 years if we just took every other year off of Christmas. Can you imagine how excited you'd be to hear a Christmas song? I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I hear the first couple of notes of that damn Mariah Carey song, and I'm just immediately going like, oh God, here we go with this thing nonstop. And I don't think I've actually heard that song all the way through this year. And I feel like that's a good thing for me, for people like me. This episode's going to go out to everybody who does not enjoy Christmas because it makes them sad, or it makes them anxious, or just upset. And not just Christmas, the New Year, Thanksgiving, all of these holidays, the holiday season, Hanukkah, although Hanukkah sounds kind of fun. I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's as much pressure for Hanukkah, which is pretty interesting. I kind of mentioned, a stressed relationship with my brother, and a lot of this feeling I have towards Christmas is definitely family related. It's definitely somewhere seated in there. Like I said, there's no specific thing for me. It's just a bunch of things, and it seemed to always have manifested itself on Christmas Day for me. Yeah, and it's crippling, man. I would find myself as a young kid just hiding underneath my sheets, sobbing, afraid that somebody would notice that I was like in a crippled state of despair. And I was embarrassed by it. I didn't want anyone to know. And and now that kind of crippling despair has not happened to me since I was a kid. But the anxiety that leads up to Christmas ever since is real. Kind of like Pavlov's dog. You know what I'm saying? I've been trained that there will be pain, emotional pain, come Christmas Day. And that you should be scared, shivering in the corner, waiting for it all to go away. But I will say that I have successfully managed to deal with this throughout most of my life, adult life, and there's certain times where I actually do find myself enjoying it, like when I was at the Bill Wilson concert. I really was enjoying myself. what an amazing display of talent. Like all those musicians were just so good. They were so, I mean, just professional, yet just oozing with soul. And yeah, it was a good time. See, like something like that in the right atmosphere. And because I was doing something I love to do, which was taking photos at a concert, you can't beat that for someone like me. Like that's me in my happy place. You know, that's how I love to enjoy a concert is to kind of be able to capture it photographically. So yeah, that's what I did. Oh, I feel like I'm kind of rambling on about this, but what it comes down to, the message is clear. If you're somebody who hates the holidays, you're not alone, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. But there are ways that you can overcome, and there are ways that you can avoid the uncomfortable conversation with people and the uncomfortable judgment. The worst part is the judgment. The worst part of feeling this way is when you disclose to somebody that you truly don't like the holidays for whatever personal reasons you have, and they tell you, well, you shouldn't feel that way. They don't get it. And that's the word. That is the absolute worst part. So sometimes I invite that kind of response because I joke around a lot, and a lot of times my way of dealing with uncomfortable stuff is through humor or coming across as someone who's not taking something seriously. So yeah, I understand that. I own that. But yeah, I think if anything I've learned this year specifically is to truly honor and respect the way people deal with their lives and the things that are affecting them. It's so easy to think you're doing the right thing and offering up advice to help them, but the older I get, the more experience I get with this thing called life, the more I realize that sometimes it's just nice to listen to somebody and let them vent. So thanks for listening to me vent about this. All right, folks, I hope you have a great weekend despite all of the sadness I might have brought, or maybe compassion. Maybe you should look at it that way. I hope you do have a great day. I hope you have a fantastic new year. On Monday, I have a fun podcast. You really don't want to miss this episode. Talk to somebody who I've been admiring her music. Baby Yaga is the name of the band that she's the leader of. I've been enjoying the hell out of their EP that came out this summer. And I mean, I am a fan. So yeah, it's a fun conversation about art, photography, music, and just all sorts of cool stuff. And I hope you enjoy